Before you blame a teacher, can I ask you a few questions? Not rhetorical questions, real questions. Because I think a lot of people have strong opinions about education without ever stopping to examine the assumptions behind those opinions. And to be fair, some of those assumptions sound reasonable until you follow them all the way to their conclusion. So before you blame a teacher, let's talk. Let's start with something simple. If a doctor gives a patient the correct medication and the patient refuses to take it, whose fault is it when the patient doesn't get better? Most people would say the patient shares responsibility. Makes sense. Now let's try another. If a financial advisor builds a budget, explains debt, explains investing, creates a plan, and the client ignores every part of advice, then ends up broke 6 months later, who's responsible? Again, most people would say the client bears responsibility. Now let's make it uncomfortable. A teacher creates lessons, provides support, offers tutoring, contacts home, provides feedback, gives opportunities to improve, and a student refuses to do the work. Who is responsible? For some reason, the answer suddenly changes. Now, before somebody gets upset, let me be clear. Teachers absolutely should be accountable. I've never argued otherwise. Teachers should know their content. Teachers should continue learning. Teachers should improve. Teachers should be observed. Teachers should be evaluated. Teachers should be held to professional standards. Every professional should. But accountability only makes sense when it's attached to something you can actually control. And that's the part people skip. Because accountability without control isn't accountability. It's blame. And those are not the same thing. Here's where I think education gets misunderstood. People see a student and they see a teacher, and they assume those are the only two variables in the equation. But education doesn't happen in a vacuum. Think about all the things that affect a child's success before they even walk into a classroom. Sleep, attendance, nutrition, mental health, family stability, screen time, peer groups, reading habits, motivation, discipline, expectations, support systems. And that's before the first lesson even starts. Any teacher watching this knows exactly what I'm talking about. You can have two students sitting 3 feet apart, receiving the exact same instruction and getting completely different outcomes. Not because one teacher became amazing at 9:15 and terrible at 9:17, but because human beings are complicated. The strange thing is, deep down, most people already understand this. We understand it in sports. A coach can design the perfect game plan. Players still have to execute. We understand it in fitness. A trainer can create the perfect workout. You still have to do the push-ups. We understand it in finance. An advisor can build the perfect budget. You still have to follow it. But when the conversation becomes education, suddenly we pretend the teacher is the only variable that matters. And that's never made sense to me. What really concerns me is this. Every year, schools are asked to do more: teach academics, address mental health, provide meals, teach social skills, handle behavior, prepare students for careers, prepare students for college, teach financial literacy, teach digital citizenship, improve test scores, close achievement gaps, raise graduation rates, and somehow do all of that while being told that every outcome is the responsibility of the person standing in the front of the room. That's not accountability. That's impossible. And here's the part people don't expect me to say. Teachers are not victims. Most teachers I know don't want sympathy. They don't want excuses. They don't want lowered expectations. They just want honesty. Honesty about what schools can do. Honesty about what schools cannot do. And honesty about the fact that education is a partnership. Always has been, always will be. A great teacher can change a life. I have seen it happen. But no teacher can single-handedly overcome every obstacle a child faces. No human being can. Which brings me to the reason I keep making these videos. It's not because I hate teaching. I don't. I love teaching. The moments that keep teachers going aren't the viral moments. They're the student finally getting it. The student who finally believes in themselves. The student who everyone was worried about, suddenly turning the corner. Those moments are real and they're powerful. But they're also proof of something important. Success happens when multiple things come together. Teachers, students, families, communities, effort, support, expectations. All of it matters. So before you blame a teacher, ask yourself a simple question. If student success is influenced by teachers, parents, peers, attendance, behavior, motivation, family support, mental health, and community, why do we keep acting like only one of those variables matters? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're a teacher, parent, coach, or former student, let me know in the comments, because this conversation is too important to reduce to blame. See you in the next one.